You are listening to the Food Means Business podcast, which features the personal stories and secret ingredients behind what it's like to abandon your day job to start a CPG food and beverage business. I'm Janaba Johnson-Jones, former marketing executive turned entrepreneur and founder of food business incubator Hudson Kitchen. Join our community of fellow food business owners and subject matter experts to learn and laugh with us as we explore a startup world that's a little more culinary and a lot less corporate these days. Hi, Sadie. Welcome to the Food Means Business podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm so glad that you're here as well. So before we jump in, we'd love to hear your story. Like, what made you start Bread SRSLY?
So I started Bread SRSLY in 2011, but the story starts a couple years before that. I dropped out of MIT. I was studying mechanical engineering, and I decided to follow my college crush to San Francisco, only to find out that the feeling was not mutual at the time. So I didn't have anything else to do. I was a new college dropout. So I decided to spend all of my time and all of my money learning how to bake and cook gluten-free food because Jesse, my crush, was gluten intolerant. And I thought that would be a winning tactic to finally win him over.
Wow.
So I did that. Taught myself how to cook and bake and learned how to use gluten-free ingredients. And every day I would invite him over to eat whatever I had made for 10 months.
Oh my God.
And after 10 months, we started dating.
That is hilarious. Okay, so I have some questions before you keep
Yep.
going. So what did the family think about dropping out of school?
I was the last person in my family to drop out of school.
Oh.
Everyone before me had dropped out. So my mom was sad.
Yeah.
But totally understood. Yeah, my twin sister had already dropped out of school. Both my parents had dropped out of school. You know.
So are your parents entrepreneurs? I'm just curious.
My mom, yes.
Okay.
My dad took over his dad's business, but hated it. My mom started her own business. So I learned from her mostly. Yeah. So I think this was like, I was going to be the first one to have like a real job in the family. And I think she was excited for that prospect because she knows how hard it is to run a business. She was making clothing. So like, especially a manufacturing business.
Yeah.
My dad, I didn't know this at the time, but at my wedding, my dad's speech was all about when I dropped out of college, how proud he was.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
So
I love it. I love that they were so supportive. That's awesome.
Yep.
Okay, so now 10 months of baking and cooking gluten-free foods. So, and you said Jesse wasn't that into you at first. Like, what do you think won him over? The fact that you were cooking for him.
Well, confidence won him over. Because as soon as I decided I could be over it, I could have a crush on someone else. That was the week we started dating.
I love that all your talents didn't go to waste, that you actually started and grew a business from all of that. So can you talk a little bit about, I know you were testing, in that 10-month phase, but I'm wondering, like, can you just give an idea of like, how did you actually decide for it to be a business? Because you could have really done anything.
Yeah.
And why bread? Because you could have done cookies for that matter.
Totally. So let's see. Jesse and I started dating, and about 8 months later, I found out that I was gluten intolerant.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Which was like no big deal because I already had all these recipes that I've been working on. We already had a gluten-free household. But I was really into fermentation at that time, making pickles and sauerkrauts and stuff. And I was just about to try making sourdough when I found out I was gluten intolerant. And I was like really bummed that I might have missed my chance to try to make sourdough. And so I decided, what the hey, I'll just try it with gluten-free ingredients. And it worked poorly at first, but it was sour. It was just kind of gross.
Mm-hmm.
But because it was sour, I was like, okay, something's happening. Like fermentation is happening. Now I just have to like keep at it and keep experimenting. And so I did that for about 7 months. And then like the recipes got better and better. And I am a very impulsive person. So I was like home from work one day and just was like, you know what? I was following the blog of another baker, Josie Baker in the Bay Area, who was like making bread in his house and delivering on a bike. And I was like, you know what? I could do that too. And I emailed everyone I knew that same day to tell them that I was starting a business called Bread SRSLY and they could pick up gluten-free sourdough from my house. And Jesse came home from work and was like, I hear you're starting a bakery. Do you want to talk about this? So it was super spur of the moment. And yeah, just happened. So like I emailed everyone out. I had 3 weeks to prep. And so 3 weeks later, I had the first bread pickup day in August 2011.
So I have to ask, because I have a commercial kitchen, like, what were the cottage food laws back then, or did you not think
they
about that at
didn't
the time?
exist yet. Yeah. Yeah. In like 9 months in, we got our first commercial kitchen. We went legit.
Had to ask.
Yeah, good question.
Not mad at it at all. I think that starting at home is like the really best way to get started.
Yeah. I think the cottage food laws came into effect right after we got our first commercial kitchen, like a year in.
So you let everyone know you're starting this business. Jesse comes home and is like, you're starting a business. And obviously you mentioned that people could pick things up in 3 weeks, but like what were you thinking? Like, did you write a business plan? I'm just like, where just, other than them picking it up, were you selling it at other places? What did you decide to do?
Yeah, I did not write a business plan right away. I had run hobby businesses before, like t-shirt companies mostly. And so I was very used to like, I make something, I sell it for cash, then I have cash. That is my business plan. Yeah. Like, didn't really know the fundamentals of business. So it was just people buying directly from me. I started delivering on my bike, and so I could reach more people. And once I started consistently selling to strangers, I got the message that I like didn't know how to run an actual business. And especially because it's like bread, people buy it every week, whereas like a t-shirt, they buy it once. Like,
right.
There was like a little bit more there of like, oh, this could be like a real thing. And so at that point, I signed up for a business class at the Women's Initiative for Self-Employment, which sadly no longer exists. But it was a great like intro, like a gentle intro to business class for women who want to be self-employed. And so it taught me like, what cash flow is and how to write projections, and that I was supposed to pay myself. My parents didn't pay themselves. So like, that's just how I thought it worked. Right. So that was really crucial. And so I wrote a business plan in that class. Of course, I immediately scrapped it, like did nothing that was on the business plan. But I feel like everyone has to like write one, even if it's completely wrong.
Agreed.
And Bread SRSLY went full-time smack in the middle of that class because we got a bunch of press all in a row. And so I was, I had to like skip class to bake, which was an interesting time of my life.
So what were you mentioned you were working. So what kind of job did you hold while you were kind of doing the business on the side before you?
I was a barista and I worked at the farmer's market.
Okay. All right. Related.
Yep.
So, okay. You have a real business because you got a bunch of press. Did you seek the press out, or what did you do?
There was a funny day in business class where it was a class about goals, and we had to write like 2 long-term goals and 2 short-term goals. And we had to write them down. And then by the next class, we had to have done them or something like that. And so I wrote down, like, put in my notice at the coffee shop by March 15th and get in touch with a reporter. And the very next day, without me doing anything, I got an email from my boss that the coffee shop was shutting down March 1st. And I got an email from a reporter saying that they wanted to write about my business. I was like, wow, writing goals really works. It's amazing.
I manifested that.
It was kind of scary. So yeah, it turned out there was like a very traceable like chain of word of mouth when I started. So like a friend of a friend of Jesse's bought bread the first week. And it turned out she worked in an allergy clinic. So she told all her clients, and one of her clients was in a parents group. So she told the parents group, and one of the parents in the group was a person with celiac disease who was also a reporter. And so she was the one who wrote. And then once that article published, it was just a chain reaction of other people also wanting to interview me.
That is such a testament on how you should tell your friends what you're doing. You just never know what could
Always.
happen.
Like, just brag about yourself. Like, tell people the cool stuff you're doing, even if it's uncomfortable, especially if it's uncomfortable.
So you're doing this thing. You got this press. It was great. Things are blowing up. You have a full-time business now. What happened? Like, I know at a certain point in my business, I was like, I broke it and I need to go back and start over again. Like, fix some things. Like, how did you like put processes in place and hire people? And like, what happened? What did you do?
Gosh. Yeah. We've had that like break it all, fix it all
Yeah.
cycle many times now. It went full time, like basically overnight from one of the pieces of press. And I was quite underprepared for that because I was still baking at home. I had to stay up all night baking to fill the orders that I got from that article. And so eventually, let's see, I got a business partner for like 2 months. It didn't work out, but it was like it was literally the day before that article came out that she started working with me. So I had a buddy who could like help me get through those 2 months of insanity. She found us our first commercial kitchen. She and I would do all the baking and delivery. Then when she had to move away, we got a bigger commercial kitchen. So it had 2 ovens instead of 1, so doubled our capacity. I got a request for an internship from someone who wanted to learn about vegan baking. Our products are also all vegan. So I said yes, and she trained with me for 2 weeks and then said, okay, I learned enough, thank you. And I was like, no. Like, no, I need you. So I hired her like on the spot. And that was my first employee. And then maybe like 6 or 9 months later, I got another internship request through Bowman College, brought that person on, and then she was wonderful, so I hired her as well. So then I had 2 bakers, and at that point, I stopped doing all the baking myself. Like, I didn't have to be there every time there was baking, which was such a relief. Yeah. I am not a morning person. Yeah. So after the production staff kind of started rolling on their own, my next big hire was marketing. To just try to get the word out, work on email and social and all of those things. Then I think my next big hire was operations and then sales. And that was how I started like growing out the team beyond production.
Were you able to hire them as employees or were they contractors at first?
Employees.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
I don't remember the thought process there.
Yeah.
But we've sort of always had things in-house rather than contractors.
Yep.
That's just our style.
All right. So now you've grown this big business and you're shipping across the country. Like, how did that all happen?
So that business plan that I threw in the trash was to do farmers markets. That was like the entire business plan. Mm-hmm. But we ended up going wholesale instead. So to natural grocery stores in like summer 2012. And so I grew the wholesale business for a couple of years before I brought on a salesperson to keep growing it. And maybe in 2014, we would get like random requests from people to ship bread, like 2 a week. In 2014, I think I finally made a website that had a store on it. Mm-hmm. And then we started selling with my marketing employee, started selling like 30 orders a week and then 90 orders a week. Mm-hmm. And so that really started taking off to the point like, we shipped 900 orders this week for Thanksgiving. Wow. So the e-commerce is now a full 50% of the business.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Percentage. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So I also read that you kind of transitioned into doing some coaching and motivational speaking. So I'd love to hear about why you decided to do those things.
Yeah. So I have been working with a business coach for the last 2 years, which I highly recommend. It's just like so supportive and is a place to like really work on yourself and your leadership skills and all sorts of things. With her, I've been trying to transition to doing less work because I'm sort of someone who will like fill up my container. I used to work 7 days a week. I don't anymore. So I was working at the time 5 days a week. And I set a goal to transition to working 30 hours a week to just try to like get a little bit of balance back. And I knew that I didn't have to work 40 hours a week anymore because I have an amazing team. Like I have an actual leadership team. I have amazing managers who are like brilliant and take initiative and are way better than I am at the various parts of the business. So I knew I was just working that much, like because I was used to it.
Yeah.
And I was filling it up with like busy work, refreshing my inbox and like admin stuff. Like it wasn't important. And I kind of had a hunch that the less I worked, the more I would choose the right things to work on,
Right.
which for me are strategy and finance. And those are the things that I'm best at. But when I work more, I just don't even do those things. It's like kind of counterintuitive. So, at this point I'm working, like 15 to 20 hours a week on Bread SRSLY, which is cool.
That is very cool.
And
It really is.
yeah.
Like, I think like a lot of people, including me, want to be in that place where that's what kind of you're giving, the 15 to 20 hours a week to the business and you're able to do something else that you love. So
Yeah.
very exciting.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So yeah, I had set a goal to do, I really like public speaking. I didn't know that about myself. I found out through like pitch competitions, just like I really like being on stage. I like having the mic. So I took a course on like how to turn public speaking into a business and set that as a goal for this year to just, try to do that and see if that could be a revenue stream, but also because it's super fun and motivating for me. So I speak about basically workplace culture and hiring. And then through dialing in what I wanted to speak about, I realized that I wanted to be doing like really working with one-on-one with people, doing business coaching, but also teaching people how to hire. So I am actually starting a new project called Hire Like a Badass that teaches people with 250K to 750K in revenue how to hire great teams.
That's amazing because that's so important because and I'll be really honest, like some hiring that I've done has been like really emotional or I really like the person versus, are they actually the right person for the job? Just because they
Totally.
raise their hand, maybe, doesn't mean that they are. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people don't realize that like once you make the hire, that's not the end of the hiring process.
Right.
Like onboarding and training are so crucial. You can make the right hire and they will fail if they don't have the right onboarding and training in place. And so it really is like it's a repeatable process, and once you know it, it's sort of obvious. Mm-hmm. But before you know it, like, oh my God, I had to definitely learn all this the hard way.
Because that is your specialty, can you give a few tips for people that are looking to hire or hire?
Yeah. So hiring it's a conversation, and great communication is all about clear expectations. So the first place that I want folks to think about setting clear expectations is in the job description that they're writing. So before you even meet someone, they're reading your job description and they're like inferring expectations from what they read. And so they're getting an expectation of what it would be like to be in this role, what it's like to work with you, what is expected of them in this role. And so that's a place to like really put effort. Like don't just copy and paste something you've seen before. One of my pet peeves in job descriptions is the phrase like must have a sense of urgency, which I feel like, we just like read it on job, like you just expect it to be there. Right. But what the heck does that actually mean? To me, it means like, this is not a great workplace culture. You will feel rushed and stressed all the time. And if you don't, you're wrong.
I completely agree with you. It's like, yeah. I've had that as a comment on a performance review when I was working corporate that I didn't have a sense of urgency. And I'm like, you want me to be running around telling people, everybody that I'm busy and stressed out instead of working is what you want.
But like, because it's on every job description, we just like take it as a given. So like, be really critical about what you're putting on there. Be critical about the sense of urgency. Be critical about like what educational background you're asking for. Like, do you really need a college degree? Does that matter to you? Because there's a lot of amazing people who haven't had the opportunity to get a degree. Like, really think about what boundaries you're putting up that will keep the right people away from your company. My favorite anecdote about the sense of urgency, by the way, my husband was looking for work a couple of years ago and he looked at a job at a meditation app company that said they must have a sense of urgency. So that was the best thing ever.
It's crazy.
Mhm.
That's so funny. Can you give a piece of advice to someone that's just starting out?
There's so much advice out there, and it's awesome and it's free. And it's also like you will find conflicting advice out there and you will find advice that's not right for you. So, my advice for founders at any stage is to really spend the time getting to know yourself and what's right for you and what's not right for you. There is so much like peer pressure in the food industry to do things a certain way because we see it modeled and we see that like successful restaurants have like real jerks working in the kitchen, or successful food companies scale to 10 million in 3 years and get venture capital or something like that. And it can feel really uncomfortable to not fit those molds. But if they're not right for you, they're not right for you. And I recommend trying, like, just putting some work into tuning out the advice, because sometimes it's not at all the right thing for you.
That's a very good point. How has entrepreneurship changed you?
So I've been running Bread SRSLY for more than a third of my life.
Mhm.
So like it's literally like I grew up with Bread SRSLY,
True.
which is kind of wild. I'm a shy extrovert. So when I started Bread SRSLY, I like always sat in the back of the room and like never opened my mouth and never raised my hand. I was like this shy, uncertain little thing. Bread SRSLY like really helped me grow into myself, I think, and helped me like learn what I love and enjoy. And like one of my favorite things about my job is networking. And like 22-year-old me starting Bread SRSLY would have been like, that's the hardest thing in the world. How do you even do it? So a lot about that has changed me. Leadership has been really inspiring and motivating for me. So I started working with the same coach, but in a different capacity in about 2018, when I realized that like I had a lot of employees, but I had no idea how to be a manager. And so I worked with her to just like teach me the basics, like how to do a check-in and what is a performance review. Because, I was a barista. I didn't get those things when I had worked in an actual workplace. And so from that, like after getting just the basics down, I started really getting into leadership. And that was the first time I read Brene Brown. And that really lit up fireworks in my head and started to really work on myself as a leader and work on our company culture to turn it into like the culture we have now, which is a culture of communication and leadership. So it's been an amazing adventure, and I can't even imagine it a different way.
Yeah. It sounds like it's been great. Like you seem like you're having a good time, even though I know like entrepreneurship is challenging at the same time. To be able to grow a business, have employees that you trust, that take initiative, like that's amazing.
It is
So great.
amazing. Yeah. And of course there's lows, and sometimes there's highs and lows in the same day. And again, business coaching really helps me with that. Just sort of like take out the mindset trash of like, I'm failing, or, I'm only working 20 hours a week. I'm so inadequate. When other people are like, how do you work 20 hours a week? That's my dream. So, it's messy. Being an entrepreneur is super messy.
For sure. But I honestly wouldn't choose to go back and work for anybody else. Like I want to be unemployable.
Yeah, me too.
So you mentioned working the 15 hours a week, and obviously you're having the coaching and motivational speaking, but like what do you do for fun or just to kind of take care of yourself?
I'm a curler.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, how long have you been curling?
Just for a year. I started in January, and it has like taken over my life. So I curl 3 days a week. I'm also a volunteer curling instructor.
Wow.
So I used to have a lot more hobbies, and then curling came in and like took up all the space that I used to spend like gardening and making artwork and hiking. So that's how I spend my free time.
I love that. So at Hudson Kitchen, we have what I call the money bell. It's in our lobby, and we ring it when people are celebrating something. So I'm wondering, what are you celebrating right now? Could be personal or professional.
Well, I'm celebrating launching Hire Like a Badass. It's been something I've been thinking about for a couple months and chipping away at, and I'm really excited to work with people in that capacity. And let's see, I am celebrating my amazing community. Like, I just moved to this neighborhood that I'm in and have like so many friends around me all the time. So in the middle of my workday, I can just walk down the street and go to my friend's house for 10 minutes, to have a quick like soul pick me up and come back to work. And it's been really uplifting and just like stabilizing in a way that I really needed.
Awesome. Well, Sadie, let everyone know where they can find you, Bread Seriously, and also how they can work with you with your other initiatives.
Sure. So you can find Bread Seriously in California natural grocery stores in the refrigerator section. And we ship nationwide through breadseriously.com, and that's SRSLY. And if you are interested in business coaching, you can book a free intro call with me to see if it seems like a good fit. And that is all at sadiescheffer.com.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
The Food Means Business podcast was produced by Hudson Kitchen. It is recorded at the studio at Kearney Point and mixed and edited by Wild Home Podcasting. Our theme song is by Damian DeSandes, and I'm your host, Janaba Johnson-Jones. Follow Hudson Kitchen on Instagram at The Hudson Kitchen, and to get food business bites right in your inbox, sign up for our newsletter at thehudsonkitchen.com/newsletter. Listen, follow, and leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get podcasts. Until next time.